Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going to be exploring something that maybe doesn't sound all that exciting at first,
Yeah.
but trust me, it's really interesting.
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking about dust deposition.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
specifically, we're going to be diving into this research paper called
Mm-hmm.
Modeling Global Surface Dust Deposition using Physics-Informed Neural Networks.
Wow, what a title.
Right. And it's all about how scientists are mapping out these global dust patterns, not just for today's climate, but also for past climates,
Yeah.
like the Holocene and the last glacial maximum.
It's really remarkable being able to look at those past dust levels. It's like
Yeah.
it unlocks these secrets about our planet's history.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so dust is,
Mm-hmm.
it's obviously more than just like a nuisance, right? It has
Yeah.
a bigger role to play.
Absolutely. It's crucial to Earth systems.
Yeah. So I understand, like, dust can carry nutrients to ecosystems.
Yeah.
But, like, how does that impact things on a larger scale?
Well, think about it this way. Dust is like a global traveler, right? It's carrying these essential nutrients.
Okay.
And it's fertilizing different ecosystems, especially our oceans.
Yeah.
And these tiny particles, they contribute to these big biogeochemical cycles that keep our planet running.
Right, yeah, the carbon and nitrogen and all that.
Exactly, like those grand loops of elements that are constantly moving and changing.
Yeah, so dust is like this
Yeah,
tiny but mighty player.
exactly.
Right?
And it doesn't even stop there.
Okay.
Dust can also influence climate patterns
Oh, well.
by either reflecting or absorbing sunlight,
Okay.
which then, impacts Earth's energy balance. And researchers even believe that dust levels may have played a role in past climate changes, like the shifts between glacial and interglacial periods.
Wow, so dust is this tiny particle with like a really big impact.
Yeah.
But figuring out how much dust there was,
Yeah.
back then,
Yeah.
in the past,
Right.
seems like it would be really hard to do.
Yeah. Reconstructing past dust levels is a major challenge for scientists because they have to rely on these indirect clues.
Oh, okay.
They use what's called paleoclimatic data, which comes from things like ice cores drilled from glaciers or sediment layers from the ocean floor.
So they're like digging through the Earth's archives.
Exactly, like piecing together this historical puzzle.
Yeah. And the paper mentions this dirt map database.
Right.
Is that like a pretty comprehensive resource for this?
It is a valuable resource, but even DirtMap has its limitations.
Okay.
It only has data from a few hundred locations globally,
Hmm.
which, on a planetary scale, that's not that much data.
Right, yeah.
It's like trying to understand an entire forest just by looking at a handful of leaves.
So how do scientists even begin to create a global picture
Right.
of dust deposition
Yeah.
when they're working with such limited data?
Traditionally, they've used a method called Kriging interpolation to kind of fill in those gaps. So imagine you have a few scattered altitude readings and you're trying to map out an entire mountain range.
Mm-hmm.
Kriging helps create a smooth, continuous surface based on those limited data points.
So it's like connecting the dots, but more sophisticated.
Precisely.
Okay.
But kriging has a major drawback.
Uh-oh.
It assumes symmetry.
Okay.
So let's say you have a dust source in one location.
Mm-hmm.
Kriging would show that dust spreading out evenly in all directions,
Okay.
even against the prevailing winds, which isn't physically possible.
That's like saying that wind can blow smoke back into a chimney.
Exactly.
Doesn't make sense.
And that's where this research paper gets really interesting.
Okay.
It introduces a more advanced approach called physics-informed neural networks, or PNNs for short.
PNNs.
Yeah.
Okay, that definitely sounds a lot more complicated
Right.
than connecting the dots.
Yeah.
So break it down for me. What are these PNNs all about?
Okay, so it might sound a little intimidating at first, but the core idea is actually pretty intuitive. PNNs combine the power of machine learning, like AI, with our understanding of the physics behind how dust actually travels.
Okay.
So it's like we're teaching a computer to understand both the data and the rules of the game.
So instead of just filling in the gaps, it's actually using what we know about wind patterns and things like that
Exactly.
to make sure that the dust is flowing
Yeah.
in the right direction.
That's the gist of it.
Okay.
And the rules of the game, in this case, are based on something called the advection diffusion equation,
Okay.
which is basically a way to describe how particles move and spread
Got it.
due to things like wind and random motion.
Okay. I'm going to trust you on that one.
Sure.
But I'm really curious, like, how do these PNNs actually work in practice?
Well, the paper gives this really compelling example.
Okay.
The dust plume that originates from Patagonia in South America.
Ah, Patagonia.
Yeah.
Land of glaciers and apparently lots of dust.
Indeed.
Mm.
And the PNN model very accurately shows how this Patagonian dust gets carried eastward across the South Atlantic by these powerful winds called the southern westerlies.
Wow, okay.
It even shows the dust reaching parts of the Indian and South Pacific Oceans.
That's quite a journey
Right.
for a little dust particle.
Yeah.
But what about the Cridging model?
Right.
How does that handle this?
So with Cridging, because of its symmetrical approach,
Okay.
it ends up showing this much less realistic spread of the dust.
Okay.
It doesn't really capture the dynamics of wind transport in the way that PNNs can.
So it seems like PNNs are really a step up
Yeah.
when it comes to understanding these global dust patterns.
Yeah, definitely.
But what else can they do?
Mhm.
The paper mentioned some other advantages as well.
Right. So one of the big ones is that they're computationally efficient,
Okay.
meaning that they can process a lot of information without needing massive computing power,
Right.
which is
Yeah.
always a plus in science.
Yeah. Time is precious, especially when you're dealing with mountains of data.
Exactly.
Okay.
Another thing that sets PNNs apart is their ability to handle data uncertainties.
Okay.
Remember, paleoclimate data isn't always perfectly neat and tidy.
Right. It's not like a perfect experiment.
Right. It's like trying to piece together a puzzle where some of the pieces are faded or chipped.
And PNs can handle that.
That's right.
Yeah.
They can incorporate those physical constraints that we talked about and still give us a more reliable picture.
That's amazing.
But here's where it gets really fascinating.
Okay.
PNNs can even estimate unknown parameters.
Wow.
For example, something called the diffusion coefficient,
Okay.
which basically describes how quickly the dust spreads out.
Hold on. So they're not just analyzing the data we have.
Yeah.
They're filling in gaps in our knowledge about the physics, too.
You got it.
Wow.
They're learning and adapting as they go, which makes them incredibly powerful for research.
Okay. So
Yeah.
if we connect this back to the bigger picture, what does this all mean for our understanding of dust deposition
Right.
and its role in Earth's history?
It means we have this incredible new tool
Okay.
that can help us unlock the secrets of past climates.
Okay.
By accurately mapping dust deposition across the globe. And through time, we can start to see how it has influenced everything
Yep.
from, how productive ecosystems are to global temperature fluctuations.
So dust is more than just a nuisance.
Yeah,
It's a vital part of Earth's story.
it really is.
And PNNs are helping us to finally read that story.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And I think this raises a really important question for you to consider.
Okay.
If dust played a role in past climate changes, what could that tell us about future climate scenarios?
That's a question with some pretty big implications.
Yeah,
And it makes you realize just how interconnected everything is on our planet.
absolutely.
A dust storm in South America could have ripple effects across entire oceans.
Absolutely. The paper also hints at the exciting future potential of pins for studying other Earth science phenomena beyond just dust.
Wait, so it's not just limited to dust.
Right.
What else could it be used for?
Well, imagine applying pins to study things like ocean currents, the spread of pollutants, or even the movement of tectonic plates.
That's mind-blowing.
The possibilities are really vast.
So to wrap things up, we've learned that dust deposition is this vital process that impacts our planet in some pretty profound ways.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks to cutting-edge techniques like pin ends,
Yeah.
we're getting better at understanding its role in Earth's history, as well as its potential implications for the future.
Well said, and I think you've hit the nail on the head.
Thanks.
Understanding the past can give us valuable insights into the present and even the future.
Yeah.
The more we learn about how Earth's systems have interacted throughout history, the better equipped we'll be to face the challenges of today and tomorrow.
Speaking of those connections, the paper mentioned that the PINN model showed this pathway of Patagonian dust reaching all the way to the Indian and even the South Pacific Ocean
Yeah,
during the last glacial maximum.
right.
Is that something that scientists expected to see?
It's definitely an intriguing finding.
Okay.
While we don't have direct data from that time period in those specific ocean regions,
Right.
the model's prediction actually aligns with other research that's looked at the chemical composition of dust deposits.
Okay.
Some studies have found evidence of South American dust being carried by those southern westerlies all the way across the Pacific, even during the last glacial maximum.
So it's like the model's prediction is backed up by this real-world evidence from different sources.
Exactly.
That's pretty impressive.
It really speaks to the power of, combining data analysis with that deep understanding of the physics at play. When you bring those two things together, you can uncover some pretty remarkable insights.
And it makes you wonder what other hidden connections and patterns are out there waiting to be discovered
Absolutely.
as we continue to refine these techniques.
It's a really exciting time to be in earth science.
Yeah.
New tools and approaches are constantly emerging, and they're allowing us to understand our planet in ways that we never thought possible before.
Well, after this deep dive, I'm definitely feeling inspired to learn more, maybe even dust off my old geology textbooks.
I think that's a fantastic idea. There's always more to learn, and as we've seen today, even something as seemingly simple as dust can hold the key to unlocking some of Earth's greatest mysteries.
Sometimes the most profound discoveries are hidden in plain sight. Thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey into the world of dust deposition. We'll catch you next time for another deep dive into the depths of knowledge.